Guys, this is what if Issei was a biker and had beef with Riser. Now, if you don't know, well, at least in this version, bikers aren't exactly the nicest people, but being that that's my style, I'm going to use them as an example. Now, they're pretty nice guys, just don't mess with their alcohol or fuck up their bikes, and you're good. Just don't fuck with their shoes or clothes or anything like that. Just don't mess with them, man. Just don't piss them off, and you're good. Piss them off, and you might get your ass whooped. But basic stuff. Back to what if. Now, Issei's parents, they were bikers. Like, they were honest fucking bikers. And they were called the Fallen Devils. And they were called that because, well, sounds like a badass name for a biker gang. And they even had the insignia of a pitch black demon with a complete, like, demonic grin with a red sword on the back of a leather jacket. Now, Issei had his plain black leather jacket he wore normally. He had his Fallen Devils leather jacket his parents gave him as a gift on his 14th birthday. They just sent it to him in the mail. Since in this version, his parents are actually in America. They're there because they felt like it and they want their biker gang to be there. It's their main headquarters. But Issei already goes to school in Kuo, so they just kind of left him there at the age of 13 and allowed him to just live there. And, yeah, at this point, Issei's been alone for a few years, and his parents straight up told him, hey, the house is yours now, bye. His parents will come to visit him occasionally, but only rarely, and they don't care what the fuck he does to the place, like, it's his place, so they don't care. Sure, they pay for the shit, but, like, more along the lines Issei pays for it, since, all that stuff comes out of his money, so who cares? Now, Issei by no means is poor. He has his own job. He works at a 7-Eleven or some shit. But he doesn't just have his one motorcycle that looks a lot like the Ghost Rider's bike. He has a few other vehicles. He's got another motorcycle. The other motorcycle has this thing called a sidecar. And at max, it can hold 6 people. 5 easily. And at, like, normally, it would only hold maybe 4 people at that best. But 6 if you're actually packing them in there. But that's at most. Now, Issei was actually this is when we're going over what happened when Issei turned 17. Now, no, actually going over when he was 15. He was wearing his leather jacket, had his bike, he just finished maintenance on it, he just fixed the damn thing back up. Now, this is when he goes over and he's talking to this biker girl he just met while he was riding. He saw a girl trying to work on her bike on the side of the road, but didn't have any materials for it. Not a tool, said nothing. He had one in his sidecar, though. Not sidecar, like his side bags. So, he pulled up alongside her and said, what's the problem? He looks at everything, he figures out, hey, someone put sugar in your gas tank. They did what? This girl was Isabella, otherwise known as Riser's Rook. She wasn't Riser's Rook yet. Now, her story in some cases is that she was a gang leader actually, that got into a fight with Riser and kind of lost. And he forced her to, join him as a punishment. Now, in this version, it's kind of similar. But in this version, they're just about to have a gang brawl between Riser, who is called the Phoenix, and his group is called the Phoenixes because of, by choice, they all have the Phoenix bird on the back of it. Now, Issei, by chance, isn't just wearing his plain black leather jacket. He's rocking with a whole different one. He's wearing his parents' leather jacket. The one they gave him as a gift. That's right, he's wearing the Fallen Devils. Now, in this version, her group, Isabella's, is actually known as the Red Dragons. And she was called the Red Dragon Emperor, because they didn't know anything about the boosted gear or shit like that, because they were humans. They called her that because she always wore red, and hitting would knock the shit out of anybody. She was 2 times the strength of the average human. Not average, but look, most grown people were like half her strength, shit. So she was a good fit for a Rook. Now this is when Issei's doing his thing. He's just not giving a fuck. He just sees this and says, "Alright." As he said, "Alright, well, there's a gas station not about a quarter mile from here. Could you help me with it?" She struggled to, push her bike since it was an all uphill thing. Sure. As he grabbed both, as he basically just put his own bike, saying, "What are you gonna do?" As he straight up, I'm sorry I'm saying straight up so much, but yeah. What he does is, he picks the bike up, and rolls it with, like, he kind of sets it on the back of his, and kind of strapped it down, and then kind of have her sitting on the back of him, on his back, right in front of her own bike, and he kind of just hauls that slowly but surely all the way to that gas station. Surprisingly enough, it's the one Issei works at. He has two jobs, one with the gas station, one with a restaurant. Now he just, got off of the work like about an hour ago, and he has about 2 hours before he has to go into his next job. And then he works his day, and then he goes home and rests. But saying as he's got 3 hours, and he's only wasted one of them, he's going in there, just basically says, "Hey, boss, I need you to like let this be here for a little while. I'll come back and get it in a while." Being that Issei is their prized employee, they allow it. And because he's great at working on cars, he kind of has like a little shop at the side of it. Like, if you need a vehicle fixed, they'll fix it for you. Admittingly, it's not cheap though, since Issei's kind of the best around. But back to Riff. Now, Issei straight up just drops the bike off, saying, "Hold this for me. Put it under the name Isabella." Okay. Issei saying, "Alright, so where did you need to go?" "I'll fix your bike up and bring it to you there." "Actually, I have a gang fight I need to go to. I think I'm a little late though." "Alright, I'll take you there. Come on." They straight up hop on his bike, and he straight up turns it on, and they hear it and they hit it where they need to go, an abandoned warehouse. The Issei pulls up, and he says, "What the hell's with all this? It smells like blood. I hope my guys didn't lose." She goes in there to see Riser holding up her second in command by her throat. "Pathetic." Riser starts to laugh. "Ha ha ha. You really think this was enough to stop me, Miss Dragon? Huh. I'll destroy you and everything you care about. What the fuck?" As Issei stood up and saying, "Excuse me, motherfucker. You didn't wait for the boss to arrive. Isn't that customary in these fights? Who the hell are you, a new recruit?" "Far from, bud. I don't care who you are. I'm gonna whoop your ass." Riser darts at him, and Yubaluna jumps right with Riser, and they're trying to beat Issei's ass. Issei's weaving their shit and knocking Riser to the ground. Yubaluna, he does one strike, and she's passed out. He pops his neck saying, "Good. Who's next?" All seven, currently, of the pawns are about to try to jump Issei. But they don't get the chance when 3 of them got taken out by Isabella, throwing kicks and punches at everyone. After about 20 minutes, I'd say, the only 2 people left were Ravel and the other Rook. Issei said, "Why don't we make this easy? Don't fight me. You already saw what happened." Yes, sir." As Ravel kind of gave up, while the other Rook refused and actually tried punching Isabella. Issei catching the punch, saying, "Sorry there, little lady. Don't think this will work out too well." As Isabella knocked her out. This is when her group is coming too, and they see Issei standing over the body of, like, the entire people there, with his fist raised to the air as he noticed as he said he won. Thing is, he's only got about an hour and a half to get to work. And it's on the other side of Kuo. It takes about a half hour, so he said, "Hey, I gotta go. Fun fight and all, but, yeah, call me if you ever need anything," as he gave her his number. "Also, just have someone take you over to that shop. I'll be there in about 4 hours, since his current restaurant shift is only for 4 hours. He gets there in his leather jacket, all that shit. It's fine, whatever. As they put an apron on him, and even in his leather jacket, he's kind of kind in people. Kind of surprises them. He basically gets all their orders down, brings them all their food, drinks, everything. When he's done, they actually give him a hefty tip. He said thank you as he walked away. Once his night was done, he was completely done. Isabella, on the other hand, just had her group take her to, to the same shop, and she would just wait there for Issei. This is when Issei arrives there with his bike, when he said he would, about 4.5 hours later, because it was that far of a drive. Saying, alright, I'm done with my night. So what's up? Alright, I'll get it fixed real quick. Hey, boss man, I gotta use the shop for a little bit. Are we gonna get any money off of it? No, but it's kind of like my shop, so... Alright, fine, but... if we have to repair that bike again, it's coming out of your paycheck. Fine. Deal, man. Thing is, Issei didn't really give a shit, since, he already made enough money, and he just had the 2 jobs because he was bored. Because it's summer break right now, so he doesn't give a fuck. He drags, like, all his shit out. He repairs it. Basically, let's take the entire bike apart. Take the gas pump. Take the gas, like, the gas can itself. Everything has to take it apart and wash it. Like, thoroughly flush through all of it with water. And once it's completely working and clean again, he gets it fired up. Full tank of gas. It's on the road again. He said, I'm going to have to take it for a test ride. She said, let's go together. Sure. They make it all the way around and notice it's perfect. This is when he said, here you go. Tossing her the keys to her bike back. Isabella was extremely happy and said, thank you. This girl's too cute, Issei's thinking. As this is when Issei said, hey, this is kind of a weird one, but you want to go out on a date sometime? Sure. They go grab burgers. Now, when they have their fun conversation, there's actually 3 punks. They think they're tough shit and don't know who the fuck they're standing to. As this is when one of them actually reveals that he's the strongest leader of a group called Ragnarok. Another one is called Omen. And the final one is called the Revengers. And they basically all go, and they're ready to whoop that ass. Issei saying, which one should I take? You want to take one, or what? And this is when she's surprised. Isabella's not a match for them. She thought the weakest member would be easily fight for her, even the strongest should. But she couldn't land a punch or kick or anything on this guy. Issei pushed her out the way, and wound up getting hit with a baseball bat inside the on his arm. He stood up, and the other one tries doing an axe kick straight down on him. Issei straight up one-shots both guys, leaving the guy from Omen. The guy from Omen said, hey, thought it would never be this fun. Popping his neck, this is when he actually is turned around. Issei gets turned around by one of the guy's kicks, which actually sent him a little bit ways. Issei spit out a little bit of blood, but on his back is where you see the insignia, the fallen demons. That insignia is only worn by the most dangerous group in biker gang history. The current leader and his wife were said to have a son, but no one ever met him. If this was him, they're fucked. Since both of those were known as fighting champions, no one's ever beaten them except for each other. And even then, that was a fight that they've never seen the victor to. It would always wind up in them being dead stalemate in speed and strength. Well, the father was stronger, but the mother was way faster. So she could dodge more hits, but he could take more. So in the end, it was a dead draw. It was a draw, so yeah. Issei, who cracked his neck, saying, let's go. Dude, first thing his thought was, he pulled a gun out. He went to shoot Issei. Issei kicks the gun away, out of his hand, and said, you want to know how to really use one of these? Too bad, as he basically broke the guy's arm and sent him to the hospital. Anything else? As 3 ambulances would appear, Issei saying, good, y'all arrived. Take these sacks of shit away. Yes, sir. Issei taking off their biker jackets and laying them next to them. Hey, I don't want their biker jackets cut or anything, okay? They've earned them. noting they're stronger than most people Issei's ever fought. They may not be as strong as Riser, but this is when, about a few weeks later, after Issei and Isabella are actually hanging out, Issei's actually getting to the point where he's actually part of her group. He's got a red dragon jacket, just like this one in the picture. He rocks around with that one when he just as a normal everyday thing. But it's got a red dragon on the back of it. But not quite the Red Dragon Emperor insignia. It was just one someone drew up. This is when Isabella's actually... They wind up getting into a fight, and Isabella thinks she can take this guy. She thinks she can hang with Riser. Once Riser's Peerage took out every one of the regular-ass guys, Issei's trying to get there as fast as he can on his motorcycle. He's speeding it as fast as it can go. He pulls in and straight up jumps off his bike and sees this fight. He tries getting in there just for the fact that he saw Isabella had her neck ripped out. His rage overtook him, and he actually, at full force, broke the arm of Riser and kept beating his ass. Riser stood up and said, "Oh, is that all you can do?" "The hell? I'm a phoenix. I can regenerate, dumbass." As Issei started getting his ass beat, after about a solid half hour of this fight, Issei's laid on the ground, and Riser just took Isabella. "And now I take your girl." Ha ha ha. Riser stated as he walked away. Issei noting the only reason he lost is because that goddamn immortal body of Riser's. Without that immortal body, Issei could kick his teeth in like it was no joke, like it was a simple joke to him. As Issei passes out, he wakes up the next morning to a phone call from his parents. "Issei, we'll be visiting Japan tomorrow. We want to go see you." Issei says, "I'm in the worst shape right now," saying how the group The Phoenix just took his girl and beat his ass. Issei, whose leather jacket was laid on the ground next to him. His black one and his fallen demons all now in his closet. He rocked with the black one only. Remembering how all that time ago, he wore this one alone whenever he fought Riser and he got a cut on the side from one of Riser's attacks. And the zipper broke when he tried zipping it back up, it snapped. So, it had a lot of memories to him. This is when Issei had to tear up. He lost his true love, his Isabella. Now this makes Issei pissed. 2 years passed. Issei's gotten more distant and everything, rocking his normal hairstyle, but occasionally he'll basically have the sides all like going into the top to make it kind of like a mohawk type thing. Now, does he ever actually fully tank? And he's a fighter, like he's strong as shit. He just only lost because of Riser's immortality. Issei can't explain what the fuck happened to anyone, not even his parents. He can just say someone stole his girl. His parents laugh at him because, well, how could that have happened? And if it was really his girl, then she would come back to him even if it meant she had to obey, even if it meant she got hurt. Issei's thinking, and he's pissed, so he gets on his bike and starts riding around. And now, here's when we get to Kuo. Issei just got out of Kuo. He got on his bike and started riding when he stopped. Apparently he hadn't checked the gauge in a bit and it ran out of gas. He was pushing it up over this bridge, and there was about a gas station about a quarter mile away when Yuma actually said, "Are you Issei Hyodo?" "Yeah, why?" Will you go out with me?" "Fuck it, sure, why not?" He hasn't really given any fucks in about 2 years. Now, this is when Issei's really not giving any fucks, so he picks up. He said, "It's whatever, sure, when you want to go." "Saturday, if that'd be alright with you, let's meet up," and said, "The fountain." He said, "Sure, let's go. We can meet up there." "Should I bring my bike or no?" "Well, if you do, just know it will be... We could ride around then?" "Sure." So Issei goes, pushes it to the gas station, fills her up, not a big deal. And then he takes all of his, when he gets home, he's kind of pissed. With tears in his eyes, he said, "I think I've failed everyone. Hope this one doesn't wind up the same as her. Thinking of Isabella, who, he didn't know, Isabella has been sleeping with Riser for the past year and a half. That's because it was kind of one of the mandatory things of being in Riser's peerage, only Ravel didn't have to follow it. Issei had no clue what's going on. He didn't know the love of his life has been in torture every day for the past few years. For the past year and a half. While he's been in depression, he's never fully, got over it. He goes out with Yuma for the day and actually smiled for the first time, a genuine smile, in years. This is when he actually grabbed all his... They went for a ride, and when they got back there, she said it felt so good to be with a bad boy for once. Although, I wish you could have stayed with us. Who knows, I may be able to revive you, but until then, you must die for our plans. Issei got stabbed clean through the chest. Though first thing he did was he tanked it, so he wouldn't mess up his leather jacket. The one he grabbed was the pitch black one. And this is what kind of, actually, you know what, this version, he didn't even have the zipper ripped off yet, like, he had a new one put on it. When this blast hit him, he kind of had his, like, when he was taking it off, the zipper snapped while he was taking it off, and he threw it on the ground. He threw it up, and the spear pierced him. He caught the jacket and held it away from his blood. Tears in his eyes, saying, "Finally, sweet death." When he saw Rias's insignia, it glue on his chest, thinking about the blood and how it was kind of like that red dragon thing, and everything that happened. And kind of reminding him of that girl Rias from school. It was just like blood. As he passed out, he woke up on his bed, confused as shit, knowing his jacket should have had a zipper. He throws his regular ass red tee on and everything, grabs his black jacket and throws it over him. He gets on the bike and straight up just starts riding. He was pissed. He knows it's broken, so he knows something happened last night. He has no fucking clue what though. So once he's, got to school, he had his day, not a big deal. Now, Mitsuda and Motohanma are still pervs, and they try perving with Issei as, like, their wingman. He strips us fuck off all the time, like, because he doesn't give a shit. Now, this is when something happened, that night. They wanted to go perving, they wanted to go hang out with him. He said, fuck it, sure, why not? Kind of being a coping mechanism to deal with his depression. So, yeah, he had a night of hanging with them. This is when he noted that he could see in the dark. He's felt way faster and lighter on his feet than he should have. And he felt like every punch he threw could break steel. The hell's going on? As he felt a fallen angel's presence, it tried stabbing him. He got out the way and socked the guy straight in the mouth. Oh, for someone who was hurt by Rainier, you sure are tough. Rainier. That woman. Issei flew forward and actually started beating Donaseek's ass. Just from middle to grab her spear, throw it, and actually pierce Issei's leg. His blue jeans, surprisingly enough, already having a hole where she hit. Like it was a target for her. This put him on the ground and he collapsed, and this is when she said, "Leave him for blood loss, come on, we have to get you patched up." Basically having to pick his ass up and fly him all the way over to, to the church. They're surprised, saying, "Wait, so you stabbed him in the leg really badly, right?" "Yes. I think we may have severed his Achilles tendon." Little did they know, they may have pierced his leg, but that was it. As he basically got back up and started kind of limping up to, his bike. As this is when Reese would appear and say, "Oh, dear me, you're hurt again?" Basically doing the same thing. He wakes up the next morning with his injuries healed, his leg fixed, and he walks around again. Then, again, he goes walk. He doesn't give a single fuck. He picks up his actual stuff. Like, he picked up his gear and everything. Not his, like, boosting gear, but, like, his jacket and everything. He picks it up, throws it on and everything, and has fun. Not really fun, but gets out of bed and does his thing every day. And for the first time, he felt lighter on his feet than he should have. But something was still wrong. He still couldn't get over Isabella. But he was thinking, maybe I should have let go by now. After all, it was 2 years ago. I haven't even seen her face in that time. Tears kind of flowing out his eyes as he's kind of still thinking about Rias. And over the next week, before he met Asya, he's thinking about Rias, going real good with that. He'll wake up with her naked on his bed and that shit. And surprisingly enough, he doesn't sleep wearing any clothes on either. So since he lives alone in the master bedroom, he wakes up every morning, then gets ready. But yeah, this is when he gets up, completely ready for the shit he has to do. When that morning, when Rias had to teleport into the Occult Research Club, Issei met Asya and actually gave her a ride to the church because he could speak all the devil languages. Kind of one of those bullshit things that devil can do. Now, he basically took her all the way to the church, and he could feel like the holy auras, but he figured, yeah, I'm not going to get into a fight because I brought someone to the church. Sorry, I can't stay for tea. As he walked away and hopped on his bike and zoomed off. Aussie was thinking how nice he was since he picked up all of her stuff and helped her all the way there. This is when Issei basically gets, to Kuo a little bit later than he should have. It took him extra 5 minutes since, he kind of just gunned it on the bike. He parked it up, changed it up, and walked in, said, "What's up?" He wasn't exactly late, but he wasn't exactly perfectly on time. He wasn't late yet, though, so he was pretty good. It was fine. Usually he's 5 minutes earlier, but not a big deal. So he sits in class, goes through his day, talks to Rias at the end of the day, telling her about what happened. Rias straight up said, "Don't ever do that again." Issei saying, "Why not? Should I just let people like that be hurt? Should I let them lose their lives? Should I leave them to have nowhere to do shit?" And it's like, what? Should I just leave people out in the dark? Because you have no idea what could have happened to that girl if I didn't intervene. I could see the shady-looking people approaching her. Issei could. There was about 4 actual gang members, 3 of which Issei recognized from 2 years ago. 1 of which he didn't. Now, thing is, there was another 2 people who were starting to join biker gangs. Mitsuda and Moto Hanma. Mitsuda rocks with a mask. Moto Hanma, while he does wear glasses, he rocks with goggles and a do-rag instead. Now, this is what led to Issei not really giving a fuck. Though they didn't join he's kind of got his own little group. It's just him. Since, after what happened to Isabella, the entirety of that group is no longer existing. He can't find them anywhere. And they were young, they were powerhouses, but now they don't even exist. Issei found out about what Issei and Asya meet when he's on a job, and then they kind of have to see each other again after, she gets taken by Rainier. Issei's a pissed, and he already unlocked that gear thing, right, that first time. And now he's truly pissed. So he's really about to go throw these hands. What he grabbed was his red leather jacket. And as he walked in there, something surprising happened. He beat all the ass. He cleared everyone but Free just saying, "Fuck this shit, I'm out," and throwing a light bomb to escape. Now those other 3 fallen names were about to intervene when Akano and Rias said, "Excuse us, but you're gonna need to die." And they straight up just blow them apart. Issei gets down there with Kiba and Konako right behind him. Issei saying this will be a hell of a fight as he flies forward and starts just laying waste for Konako to come in and just every punch, reminding Issei a little too much of Isabella, as she was also the strong silent type. Issei, who kept fighting and going 1 to 1 to 1, finished all the fight. And then, noting it was just a little bit too late, with rage in his eyes, seeing the dead body of Asya, he basically starts straight up throwing, basically decided to go up there. They said, "Go, we'll catch up." Issei, who's in tears, gets up there and actually covered her in his jacket and said, "I'll make this right, Asya. I'll be back." as he goes over and starts beating Rainier's ass. Takes those 2 rings off her fingers when she's destroyed, and then his gear showed up right before that. As it showed, it's actually the boosted gear, as Rhea stated that out. They're terrified, except for Issei saying, the Red Dragon Emperor. With tears in his eyes, he said, "Thank you, everyone." Since that was the nickname that he hasn't heard in a long time. But it's also one that fills him with emotions of happiness and a little bit of sadness. As he said, whatever. As he picked his body up and went back to work. Thing is, he kind of had to get out of his 2 jobs. Since he already did have 2 regular-ass jobs, he's kind of, at this point, the manager of the restaurant, and doesn't have to be there all the time, just makes the schedule and shit, and that's what all he needs to do. And he's also, like, kind of the co-owner, at this point, of the gas station. At this point, he kind of just owns that little area thing. Now, the owner is actually about to retire and gives it to Issei, so yeah. While those employees stayed the employees and shit like that, Issei being a co-owner could just straight up, his number was on the building, call this if you're in, like, if you want to Karen out. And if you want to Karen at him, he'll straight up say, whatever fucking Karen, leave me alone. And he'll probably even give the person who you're complaining about a raise, because he has a no Karen policy. And this is when, same for the restaurant. Now, he needs about 2K to go in on the business, like the way he wants to, but he's a little far from that. Once he's done his jobs for a little while before he does this, the night before Rias, talks to him, he gets, like, this deal. He's now a co-owner of the restaurant. Just a burger joint, but still. So he's the co-owner of 2 different places. Well, owner of 1, co-owner of 2, co-owner of another type shit. And this is when Issei straight up just dragged himself out of bed, talked to them. He basically made money from the first one, didn't even have to pay shit for the second one. And actually went in on ownership and actually became the full-on owner of the restaurant. The gas station, all they do is sell gas. And, I mean, they don't sell cigarettes. They have cigarettes and alcohol because there's some people who's over 18, that, like, over 21 that work there and shit. For the selling of alcohol and shit, but that's it. As Issei proceeds to, grab his stuff and walk all types of, and Trip just get, his payments, pays everybody, and then goes, doing his thing. He goes home. He's about to go to sleep whenever Rias basically says, Issei, I need you to sleep with me. Issei saying, what? Sure. You got it. Issei a little bit happy that he's finally found his stuff. Nothing can make this go wrong. Except for that blonde bastard. If he ever sees him again, he's going to kill him. He doesn't care if that guy's immortal or whatever. Issei gritting his teeth thinking about Riser, still wanting him dead. But this version, he still goes and says yes to Rias. And they're actually about to do it when Grafia pulls up and said, excuse you, but no the fuck you're not. Issei, who's literally only, like, just about to insert, he says, what? Why? Because I said so. Fine. Issei, like I said, sorry Rias, but not today. Maybe later. As this is when he said, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Sure. Aussie already lives with Issei. So, every day she rides on his bike. Occasionally he has to take the other one, with the sidecar so they can all 3 go. But usually if that happens, either, like, Rias usually just teleports to school. And it's not really that far, so Aussie could easily just walk herself if she wanted to, but occasionally Issei even said, hey, it's got enough room, there's enough seating for 2 people here and 1 all the way over here. In the back. One could be against my back, the other could be right, like, behind them. And that's what that's what he does. Like, that's what he's done a few different times on one of his 3 bikes. Now, the sidecar one is basically for a big one. He's got his regular one, and he's got his one-man one, which is only made for him and 1 other person. Though, yeah. As Issei pulls in there is his regular one. right up, and he sees something he wasn't expecting. He doesn't see any. He sees a motorcycle, a group of motorcycles, but he only hears them in the distance. He chances up and straight up did not give a fuck. Now, it hasn't changed at all in the past 2 years. So, Riser pulls in and is like, what the fuck? Shit, did the kid sell his bike? Huh. Isabella saying, Issei's bike. This one Riser said he probably just sold it to someone who's in Rias's peerage. Calm down. Yes, sir. Isabella is basically chained up. Like, not even chained up. Like, she's just forced to do whatever Riser says. Riser teleports in there saying, Riser has returned to the human world. Issei sees his face and grits his teeth, ready to kill Riser. The amount of disdain in Issei's eyes are enough to kill a man. Riser says, Issei Hayoto! It's been years! Aw, you still salty about what happened with me and your girl? If it helps, I've been giving her something plentiful every night. Shut your mouth, Riser. Riser's basically saying, oh, did I strike a nerve? Sore subject? Reese is like, what's going on? Grafia says, I don't know. Issei explaining, hey, so we all know, Isabella, someone who I cared very much for 2 years ago, someone I still kind of care for, he took her from me. I saw him break her neck. And, yeah, ever since that day I vowed revenge. I want him dead. This is when he said, oh, but she's not dead, snapping his fingers as his entire peerage arrives. As this is when she actually sees Issei. Issei said, Isabella, it's you. I see you again. Don't be so cocky, Issei. Riser states and saying, Isabella, Ubeluna, come here. Issei gritting his teeth, seeing what he's about to see. As he sees Isabella straight up just being fondled by Riser. Issei's rage is about to overtake him as the gear bursts out. And Issei's not even saying a word. As Ubeluna is putting on a fake show, as well as, as Isabella, because if they don't, they could get punished by him, so they don't want to do that. Issei's hair starts to spike up with rage, his eyes get covered, and every step starts to make the earth shake. He's wearing his black jacket. Riser recognizes that all too well. That's the one he put the injuries on. But that was a different way it was broken than last time. At least the zipper is. It's a different broken way. Whatever. As this is when Issei's walking forward. Now, Riser's smarter than he was before, and thinking, he looks smaller than he was before. Taller, yes, but scrawnier. Did depression really eat him away? Probably. I can probably just go for that to be what kills him, so I know I can defeat him. Sending out his weakest pawn that hit Issei straight in the gut and shattered her pole. Issei looks at her in the eyes and she's terrified. Issei looks at Riser and kept walking forward. Riser's a little scared, saying, Isabella, stop him. She's forced to do it and actually tries throwing a punch at Issei. It basically almost cracking her arm as he walks forward still. Issei threw one shot at Riser and sent him flying. Issei starts to beat his ass mercilessly. Rias is even a little terrified by the blood she's seeing. Issei's breaking him down to the point where his healing ability isn't helping very much. To the point where he's got low stamina. He's got stamina, but once it's starting to run next to zero, Issei still stands, starting to rage out, beating on Riser's face. This is when Riser gets up because Ubeluna threw a Phoenix Tear to Riser. Because it was now on Riser, Riser got up saying, "Oh, I'm back." Issei is even more pissed off, and you can see his aura around him raged. His Red Dragon Gauntlet's being out. so rage-filled, and to the point that he's actually starting to literally tear Riser piece by piece, even removing his arms and using them to beat the hell out of him. His legs doing the same thing. His skull he used as a bowling ball to hit Riser in the face. Well, not in the face, but in the chest with his own skull. Once Riser heals up, saying, "Is that all you could do, Issei?" Noting that was kind of all he could handle, since, he didn't only have but 3 more Phoenix Tears on him. He used that other one, thinking he was basically unstoppable. This is when he's about to actually throw a fireball at Issei. Because, Grafia didn't want to intervene, since that was kind of a well-deserved ass beating that Riser had to take. This is when she does intervene, when Riser's about to throw a giant fireball at Issei. Issei catches it, though. Then she freezes it solid as it hits the ground and shatters to nothingness. Issei stands above him, looking him in the eye, says, "We'll decide this now." Grafia saying, "No, you will not. Reese, if you're so consistent about not wanting to marry Riser and choosing your own partner, then you have a match with Riser. You win, you don't have to marry him. You lose, you have to marry him." Riser saying, "That sounds amazing. After all, I could put this chump in his place. And I could obviously, and quite easily, handle the rest of the group on my own." Issei's enraged, saying, "You think you can beat me? No one of your group could even land a hand on me in the past." "Oh, that's because we were forced to act mortal. Even if we were only allowed to use even a quarter of our ability, and I wasn't allowed to heal, so now we could easily defeat you." "You want to bet that, Riser?" "Oh, I do. But we'll see." He's told they have to wait a week and they have to do training. Issei's thinking, yeah, that'd be helpful. But he's already stronger than he was in canon. So every day he's just training with Rias, like Rias' peerage, to get stronger. With Konako, he trains his strength. With Kiba, he trains his speed, noting that he's actually faster than Konako and stronger than Kiba. Asking them, why don't they just train against each other to improve their own weaknesses? Speed for Konako and strength for Kiba. Asuya has to start from the ground level, but she does rock with a little, leather jacket that Issei gave her. Now this is when they all get to the fight, and Issei's pissed. He hears Riser's voice and he's pissed. Rhea said, "Follow the plan, Issei." Fine. Now, in this version, the plan was he took out those 3. And Issei, he didn't care. First thing he did was walk forward, said, "Konako, stand back." Konako listening. Since she was only, on the same level, strength-wise, as Issei. She wasn't stronger than him. And this is when Issei walked forward. As you hear, boost, boost, boost. One shot, they're all on the ground and knocked clean the fuck out. Issei walks away, Konako with him, as a lightning bolt struck. An explosion was about to hit Konako when Issei jumped in the way and sent that thing flying backwards, saying, "Excuse you." Yubaluna is kind of terrified, saying, I thought that would have ended you." "Oh, please, anyone here would be hurt by that." This is when she unleashes 4 explosions. 3 of them surrounding Issei so he couldn't escape, and a 4th above him so he couldn't escape. He tanks this and stayed strong, but what he didn't notice was that, well, it wasn't an attack meant to kill him. It was a diversion so she could get Konako, and she did. She hit Konako with an explosion. Issei's pissed. He said, "Konako, I'll avenge your death. I'll avenge you. Don't worry." He thinks she's dead. He has no clue. So his rage overfills, a little bit at least, and he walks forward. When he has to, first one to approach him was Isabella, and actually had to fight him. While, Yubaluna was fighting against Akino. Now, Akino, they had a good match, but it wasn't really an even one. Once that fight was over, yeah. Yubaluna saw how to use a Phoenix Tear to beat Akino, and then that's all. While Issei stood strong above, the group, Kiba was fighting in a 1v1 against the knight. The other one, Isabella as the rook, that one bishop, and Ravel, as well as the two other pawns, are all jumping Issei. Issei sees what's happening. He sees Rias fighting Riser. He sees that she's out of magic. This is when he said, "Kiba, throw that sword birth thing on the ground. I know what to do." Kiba listens, and says, "Sure, Issei. Hope you know what you're doing with this, though." Saying sword birth. Issei, with all the boosts, saying transfer. Taking out everyone, even Isabella, saying, "I'm sorry, Isabella, but I had to do this." This when Yubaluna would actually hit Kiba with a giant axe explosion that was separating him and Issei, which actually took him out the game. Issei still stood strong, as Ravel was terrified. She admittedly had a little bit of a crush on Issei at this point, though, so yeah. As they start throwing fireballs and explosions at Issei, he's tanking them all. Sends them both flying backwards. Neither of them got taken out of the game, though. Though, admittingly, Yubaluna almost did, so she had to use another Phoenix here. Now, this is when Issei was basically terrifying them as he straight up dropped his gear. He turned off the boost. He had the boosted gear on, but he was approaching his limit. He knew he only probably had 2 boosts left in him before his limit was reached, no matter what he promoted to. So he yelled, "Promotion Queen," and got up there. Looking Riser dead in his eyes. "Hello, Riser. Rias, Astia, get back. I'll deal with this." Knowing they were surrounded, saying, "Fine." Issei roaring out in power, surrounding them in his own aura, so that they couldn't get hurt. Though, admittingly, it took some of his aura to do it, so yeah. His rage overwhelms him, and he was beating Riser's ass. Yubaluna is throwing explosions at him. It doesn't faze him. He took off his leather jacket before the game. Now, after every punch, it starts to overwhelm everyone. Now, this is when Isabella just got a Phoenix Tears to recover. She's watching the match. She's seeing as rage as Issei is, and she hears what he's saying. "You bastard. You took the woman I loved from me. You took my life from me. You took everything I had to live for away from me. I'll do the same to you, tenfold. You wondered why. You wonder why you're losing to me, Riser? It's because I won't let you win. I don't care what explosions hit me. I don't care what I have to do, even if it kills me. I will get my revenge. I don't care if everything in existence has to pay for your crimes, Riser." Hearing this powerhouse speech, even Sir Zex is a little terrified, saying he's a pissed. This is when Issei, who's done with his boosting, has hit his limit. He sneezed. He kind of snot. He didn't really know he was approaching his limit, but he could feel something was about to happen. He thought either it's going to upgrade, or I'm fucked. 50-50 shot. So it turns out he was fucked. So yeah. As Issei stayed standing and fight fist for fist, Riser used his fireballs to basically just burn Issei's hands. At this point, Issei's red t-shirt was burned to a crisp, and he didn't even have a shirt on anymore. Every punch was just hitting Riser. Riser didn't have any stamina left. He's just a regular human at this point. As, even without magic and stamina, he had nothing else to do. He had nothing left in his tank. While Issei was approaching the end of his, when an explosion hit him and actually blew up his side, burning him just a little bit as he stood strong. Yubaluna saying, just for threatening to kill our master, I'll make sure you die here." Riser saying, "Yes." As he starts to beat on Issei as well, Issei in a weaker state, as Issei would have died if Rias wouldn't have intervened and yelled, "Stop the match, stop the match." Now, Issei was basically fighting everyone at this point. Had fought everyone at this point, so he was exhausted. By no means was he a fresh man in this fight. But when he's done, he hits the ground. Like, he fell off the rooftop, and they saw what happened. Issei should have been dead by this. At least, bare minimum, injured to a point where he could never move again. But Asya heals him. And one day later, Issei made a deal with Drake. Drake, what will it cost? Your left arm. Good. I don't need it for anything else anymore. Tears in his eyes saying, take it, and I'll pay you back tenfold. Good, good. As Issei had simply just got his arm now dragified, as he picked up the rosary and the holy water, putting on his leather jacket. Noting it was a little bit more difficult, admittingly, with his, just dragon hand, but he could do it. He goes in there, he's pissed. He walks up to the guard and breaks down the door. He didn't just kick it in like he did in Canon. He broke it down. It hit the floor. Issei kept walking forward. His rage starting to overwhelm people. His rage starting to seem almost more menacing than anything they've ever seen before. Even people who follow the original God of the Bible are terrified. Issei is beating that ass. And Rise already said, what, you can't take a defeat in peace, boy. Zex, basically knowing what was about to happen, said, listen, if you win, you can do whatever the fuck you want, I'll give you 3 granted wishes. Good. Doesn't say what they are. If you lose, Riser then said, if you lose, I get your gear and your head. Deal. Really? You're that willing to throw everything away for this woman? I don't care. Fine, let's have our match. Pawn versus king. Issei didn't even promote. This is when he was said, do you want to promote, boy? I'll allow you that. Promotion, queen. Anything else you want to do before the fight? Balance breaker. What? As Issei's scale mail appeared, and he started beating Riser's ass. Like he was punch for punch for punch. Riser, who had literally gotten a holy water, shoved down his throat, like a crucifix tied to his leg, burning him, ongoing and ongoing. Issei's beating his ass. Like, the worst type of ass whooping. This is the worst beating they've ever had to see. As Issei finished the fight, he stood strong and spit out a little bit of blood, saying, no one can stop me. As the gear vanished and Issei stood above everyone, spitting out the rest of the blood in his mouth. As this is when he said, what's your 3 wishes? Wish number 1. Rias Grimory gets the option to choose who she marries. Spitting blood out while saying it. Number 2. I wish for every person in Riser Phoenix's peerage to be given free will to do as they please. To leave if they want, and stay if they want. Hearing this, Isabella actually asked, does that mean I get to leave his peerage? Everyone hearing this blurted out, the head of Riser's family saying, you aren't worthy of leaving the peerage, about to backhand Isabella, when Issei jumped in his face saying, try that backhand and I swear, you will be in a worse condition than your son right now. You dare speak to an elder that way, I'll have your head. As Zex straight up pointed a finger to his throat saying, I swear, this boy just defeated your son. You want to be pissy about things? I can make shit happen. And I am keeping up with my side of the bargain. Whether you want to start crying or not, I don't care. And if you want to attack people, try your luck with me. Having Destruction Ball aimed right at the throat of a phoenix, not exactly threatening to a phoenix, but still, knowing that Sir Zex's, he's kind of shitting himself. Issei said, thanks, Sir Zex. Not a problem. Rowdy people like that need to be put down if they're not on the power to do it. And you seem tired, so I'm not going to have you do it. Thanks. Good. This is when Issei would kind of decide, yeah, I'm strong enough, as he decided to kind of remove the kind of set of his thing, and actually asked Rise or something. This is when he actually asked for Zex, and the final wish. I don't really have a final wish. I'll get back to you on that one, I guess. Okay, we'll say I owe you one favor then. We'll talk about this anytime you wish. This is when this is when they leave, and this is when Ravel wanted to join them. As did everyone except for Yubaluna, and Yubaluna, basically, Yubaluna, the bishops, basically only the ones who wanted to leave were, was Isabella and Ravel. Noting the other ones they wanted to leave, but they didn't want to go with Issei. They didn't know who he was or anything. Though, admittingly, Yubaluna was the only one who wanted to stay with Riser. Everyone else wanted to go back to their own towns, but Sir said, listen, I'll make you a deal. Not your own towns, but if you can go to Kuo, we'll have you a house ready. You can all stay there together, though. And Riser, you must start from the ground up to get your peerage, other than your queen is already with you. Riser's happy a little bit, saying, I still have my queen. This is when he hears cackling in front of him. It was Yubaluna. Yubaluna says, Your Highness, Sir Zex, I would request to take this next upcoming, rating match. Oh, the exam. Yes. We'll see what rank you can be. Thank you. Sir Ryder knows if she can get her own rank, he's a fucked, and he ain't gonna have no peerage. But he thinks, I hope. This is when Yubaluna said, listen, we can get a peerage. Your peerage can fill. Even you can get another queen. I can get my own peerage and everything, and we can make you have the dream harem of 2 peerages full. But it will be different girls than the ones you already have. Understood. Riser, kind of happy. Yubaluna didn't want to leave him. She wanted to help him. And this sparked a little bit of a fire in Riser to actually keep training. This is when Issei Strip said, yeah, whatever. As he started to get actually pretty tired, as he sat down on this couch thing, just to relax for a little while. He's tired and exhausted and doesn't want to deal with shit. He just got out of a fight and he just wants to relax. He relaxed for like a month. Then the people from the church would appear. And that's the cliffhanger I'm leaving it on, y'all guys. So yeah, this was what if Issei was a biker. And if this gets, say, 50 likes. Nah, I have a big enough fan base for this. I'm gonna say if this gets 200 likes, I will make a part 2 to this. That is all. So yeah.